Well, it's time for Wise Guys Wednesday as usual.
Right. Paul Kwiat is back from the U of I Physics Department with plenty of props.
And a
as
goatee.
usual.
Plenty of toys, yes.
And a goatee now.
Yeah.
Is that new?
It is.
Oh.
I noticed.
Looks good on you.
Bow tie suspenders, new.
I'm undercover.
You are?
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Today is a review of everything we've done so far.
It's giving us another final exam.
And a little test, but so looking at efficiency of lighting. So we always start with this picture of the spectrum, and you guys got a slide about that thing, right? Showing all the different colors that light can come in, and as you go from red to blue, you go from low energy to high energy.
Right.
And of course, we only see in that small visible part of the spectrum, but there's all this other stuff in the infrared and then the ultraviolet and such. But if we want good lights, we want things that we can see.
Sure.
So if we now show the next slide, the thing is a lot of the way we used to see is we used to heat things. So we used to have flame or something like that.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that the part of the spectrum is really pretty narrow that we can see. And if we're instead heating a filament in a lamp, almost all the energy is going into heating the lamp and very little is going to what we can actually see. So in fact, if we come back to our little display here, I brought back my
camera.
my super duper camera here, which I can hold here.
It's the camera.
Yes.
Which
oh, look at Paul! Look at you!
Great, yes. Shows that bow ties are cool, showing up that light right there.
Wow.
And shows that, for example, if I look at the flame here, it's nice and bright.
Yeah,
and
cool.
if I look over at this incandescent, incandescent bulb, right, which is this thing over here, we see that in fact it's very hot. In fact, I almost burned my hand on that, so I don't want to do that.
Okay, careful.
Got a lot of energy from that because we're just throwing most of the energy away into heating and very little into lighting. So another thing that we could do, if we call up the next slide, which is all about fluorescence. Is that we might have a bulb like a fluorescent light bulb where inside we excite usually an ultraviolet light, and then that excites the atoms in the phosphor and it's at some highlighting state, and then it kind of vibrate down, and then they emit a photon that has less energy in the visible, because we don't see the ultraviolet, we want to see in the visible, and they emit a whole bunch of different colors depending on where they're emitted from.
Right.
So that's going to be a little bit more efficient because then we're not throwing all this stuff into heating, but there is a little bit. So whenever we rattle down in those top levels, that's all going to be given off as heating. So that's like a typical fluorescent lamp. So if we go back to our camera here, this middle thing is a fluorescent lamp. And it's hard to tell just looking at the light because they're both about the same brightness. But if I look at the fluorescent lamp here, which is that middle one, we see that that's a lot dimmer than the incandescent lamp.
Interesting.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, but we're still losing things because of the fact that we got this whole range of possible energies we could go into. So the last thing is now how do LEDs work? So this is our last slide. And in an LED, we have some semiconductor, and we excite the electrons. We pull them away from the nuclei that they want to be in, and then we do that electrically. And then when they fall back down, I get light out that comes out, and the more voltage I put on the thing, then I can get blue photons out, or green photons out, or red photons out. So I have this lovely LED strip that has a bunch of red and green and blue LEDs, and the question is, I'm going to slowly turn up the voltage on it, and the question is, what do we predict that we will see if I start with low voltage and go toward high voltage? It's got all three colors in principle. Start with low voltage.
Red?
Yeah, so I'm going to start this nice and low, and as I crank it up, the first thing that we're going to see that's going to turn on is in fact the red. Okay, it's not showing up so well on the camera.
No, I see it.
You guys see it as red, and then next I get kind of a yellowy. That's the green and the red, and then when I turn it up all the way,
blue. That was awesome.
You can see that.
And I get this brilliant, all the colors together, but they're much cooler because of the fact that I'm only supplying the energy to turn on those particular LED colors. I'm not supplying the extra energy I need to run the phosphor.
Stared at it for a second too long. I've got the spots.
So I have here this is just an LED lamp.
Right.
And if we compare it then using my magic camera to the other lamps this way, so we can see that it looks, there we go. Okay. Sorry, pull my hand out of the way from this.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
Because you're trying to figure out which camera it's going to be on.
There we go. Okay, so this is the thing that I want to focus on right there. Great, and there. It's this thing that looks really dark. Yeah. And so the point is, it is in fact much cooler than either the incandescent, which is really inefficient, or the fluorescent, which is moderately inefficient, or this LED lamp, which is therefore much more efficient. So this is why LED lighting is a good thing. And if you use LED lighting, you can save lots of energy. I save the world, can you? And this is just a quick shout out to us that Labescape will be at the Taste of Champagne this weekend, and you can come out to
That's coming up.
Puzzles this weekend, at Westside Park in Champaign, Friday and Saturday.
Will you be there?
We will be there.
Awesome.
We'll be there with fun stuff to play with and puzzles and things like that, and also at the Sweet Corn Festival.
Oh, cool.
And shout out to the LED because it was invented at the U of I.
In some of the visible LEDs.
Some of it.
Yes, Nick Coloniak came up with the visible LEDs, and important stuff for us.
Well, thanks, Paul. Thanks for shedding light on the topic.
Ha.
Thanks, guys. All right, we'll be right back. If you have questions for our wise guys, let us know.